Hello, friends. I'm here today. I want to talk to you about this book. It's called The Everything Dating Book. It's the second edition, Meet New People and Find Your Perfect Match. Alison Blackman Dunham. So I want to just kind of skim through chapter 2 for you and let you know what that's about. Chapter 2 is called What Are You Looking For? And what I did is I underlined some things that I thought you might find interesting. It might help you along the way. Starts off with a question. Did you ever reject someone who could have been the love of your life just because you were pinning away for a fictional version? Fantasy and dreams are fun, and real people are definitely more complex and not nearly as perfect as their fictional counterparts. First section is called Setting Your Sights Too High or Too Low. Have you ever done that? One thing's for sure, she says. If you cut off every potential partner at the pass, you'll never succeed in reaching the end goal of your dating journey. Having too many criteria for dates can be just as bad as having too few. Then she gives an example. Here's a question she asks. Could you live up to the requirements you've set? Being choosy about who you date is fine, but being picky to a fault is unreasonable. Also, don't forget to think of how the other person might view your assets and liabilities. Consider who you are and what you have to offer. Perhaps you have never expected too much from your dates, but have you ever expected too little? Have you ever continued dating someone you really weren't interested in just because you didn't feel confident that your special someone was still out there waiting? She says, many people stay in unsatisfying or even unhealthy relationships because breaking up is too messy, or because they don't want to be the bad guy. Every time you do this, you do yourself a disservice. Wasting your time on someone who doesn't treat you well, doesn't appreciate you, or doesn't care about you will only set you back in the adventure. Narrowing down your options. You now know not to set your sights too high or too low. But you may be wondering exactly what your dating criteria should be. She says, here's one easy way to figure it out. Imagine you are a business executive who needs a new assistant. You would probably contact the Human Resources Office and tell them you have a job to fill. In order to find a good candidate for that position, they will need a job description, a detailed account of the type of person you are seeking, and a list of skills and requirements, experiences that they should have. It says that in the dating game, this is similar. We should have like a similar kind of like thing that we're looking for, like a job, like a person to fill a position for a job. It says chances are you can already think of a few assets that you'd like in a partner, and maybe a few things you don't. To save yourself a lot of time and grief, you also want to note the things you really won't accept in a partner. Here's a fact she lists in here. Most singles don't know what they are looking for beyond the basics. Blonde hair, sense of humor, and a good job, for example. But when they take the time to sit down and actually figure out a more holistic view of their desires, they make better, faster, happier matches. Then she goes on in this part of the chapter to list like some assets and some liabilities. Just a few of the assets that she names that people might like. She says, check all these. She says, go back and circle the top 6 assets, the things your partner must have, and top 6 liabilities, the things that you can't accept in a partner. So she suggests like listing a bunch of assets, things that you want your partner to have, and liabilities, things you won't tolerate. For example, assets, she says, has a sense of humor, generous, communicator, confident, attractive, healthy, mentally and physically, financially secure. Liabilities, greedy, cheap, lacks confidence, unattractive, unhealthy, mentally or physically, financially stable, wants, does not want children. She lists a bunch more. So she suggests listing like your top 20 or 30 liabilities and assets. She says, if you were given a stack of resumes and asked to select the ones for the open assistant position, you would first go through the bunch and eliminate any that blatantly didn't display your must-haves or that displayed any obvious negatives or can't stands. So she says you need to go through this, through a dating. When you find someone that you obviously definitely can't, you know that this is not going to work out. Don't even waste your time or theirs. It says mother doesn't always know best. That's the next section. One piece of truth people often forget is that going through life without a committed partner is not a failure in any way. Some people are late bloomers. Others are happier by themselves, and still others might value friendships and family relationships above romantic relationships. It says, the choice is yours to make, so make it wisely. It is selfish and destructive to be in a serious relationship with someone if that's not what you really want. Alert. She puts an E alert. Some singles feel such pressure from outside sources to pair up that they marry the first acceptable person who will say I do. These relationships rarely work out well. In most cases, these couples find that they are not compatible. Be honest with yourself and your partner before making a permanent commitment. The best advice dating singles can get is to heed their inner voice. It says most people who are in the meet M-E-E-T market are seeking long-term relationships. But if you're not sure that is what you want, it's kindest to tell potential partners up front how you feel. If someone wants instant marriage and family and you don't want that, be honest and don't waste their time or yours. Here's something else. Be true to yourself. Take the time to be sure of what you want. Don't let anyone else tell you what that should be. And never change your heart's desire just to please someone else. Avoid common carbons of your exes. If you've dated a number of people but still haven't found your match, you may be making a common mistake dating carbon copies of your former partners. She says, however, repeatedly dating the same kind of person and having it not work out is a huge waste of your time. And we have to figure out if we're doing that. Finding the same type of person. She says, here's an essential. Something in the chapter is called essential. Even if you don't blindly pick a clone of your ex over and over, be aware that you might be sabotaging your efforts in other ways. For example, if you want to meet a college professor, you're far more likely to find one at an academic conference than at the local bar. If you have a specific type of partner in mind, head to the spots where she might hang out to double your luck. She says, if you usually date uptight perfectionists who don't make you happy, for instance, maybe it's time to look for a more laid-back type. Identifying your type is this next part. It's not necessarily a bad thing as long as you know what your type is and you keep your expectations reasonable. So know your type and keep your expectations reasonable. In your dating journey, you're likely to meet a few people who seem to have nearly everything you want, at least at first. But in reality, there is just no way around it. You can't imagine yourself in a romantic relationship with this person. There's no chemistry. They're just not your type. On a visual level, your type is a physical image that you find appealing, but chemistry is also based on things you cannot see. Do you guys have the right chemistry? She says you also have to have all the information receptors you have, including your 5 senses and the assets and liabilities that you already know you must have or won't accept in a mate. It says, likewise, you can't force chemistry where there isn't any. Fact. Here's another fact. Most scientists agree that humans process pheromones as strong stimulants. If you want to take advantage of the personal power of your pheromones, you should know that the most potent pheromone-generating regions of the body are located in the groin, the armpits, and the narrow strip of skin between the base of the nostrils and the upper lip. Is your type really important? Physical attraction is a nearly instantaneous reaction and initial response to another person's. It said it is one of the reasons some people can tell immediately whether they could be friends with someone else. It's also the same reaction that some people call love at first sight. Of course, love at first sight isn't genuine love at all, because you can't find someone you know nothing about. It says, but this sensation is a powerful attraction to a particular type of person. Your type should consist of a mixture of physical and tangible factors that draw you to someone else. She asks, so what's your type? Do you know? Close your eyes and think about what kind of person you'd most like to be with in a romantic setting. Imagine getting physically close to this person, perhaps holding hands or getting ready to lock lips. Free association is the best way to make this exercise work. So don't think too much about your answers to the following questions. She says, what vision immediately springs to mind? What kind of person are you with? What does this person look like? What images do you see? What setting are you in? What are you doing in that setting? What is the person doing? Write down your answers for future reference. Now close your eyes again and do this same exercise, but age each of you about 20 years. What picture immediately springs to mind? What kind of person are you with? What does this person look like? What images do you see? What setting are you in? What are you doing in that setting? What is the person doing? Write down your answers for future reference. But how do you figure out what your answers to this exercise might be? Okay, then this is the last page of the chapter she talks about. It says, you don't have to be a trained counselor to pick out patterns. In most cases, they will be fairly obvious to you. Armed with the information about your type, you can now venture out into the meet, M-E-E-T market, not M-E-A-T, to find your special someone in the places where those types of people are likely to be. Just keep an open mind and have fun with your adventure. So once again, this was chapter 2 of the Everything Dating book. It's by Alison, Blackham, Dunham. Hope you have fun dating. Thank you.